Bridge something.
We're ready.
Okay, well then I will call this regular session meeting to order at Port of Hood River. And we do have a modification in addition to the agenda, correct? Do you want to, are we going straight? Or do you want to do consent and all of that?
Whatever you'd like, you know, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay. Ben, your time frame, okay, if we did public comment to allow.
Absolutely.
Okay, so why don't we call the meeting order?
Well, just, you want to go ahead and finish that thought. So what's happening after public comment?
So after public comment, we need to break and go into executive session.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's just for clarity, because I don't know if everybody understands that. So we'll, after public comment, the regular session will close down, and then we'll enter into executive session, have the discussion as on the executive session agenda. When that's completed, we'll close executive session, then you'll come back into regular session for the consent agenda.
Is that okay with everyone?
And at that time, we could make adjustments to the consent agenda.
Yep.
Some of them we'd like to talk about.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with public comment. We have Kelsey.
That's me. Oh,
So I'll remind all of the general public, if you could stand up, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes to speak. And just so as a reminder to everyone, we greatly appreciate public comment. Due to the nature of the meeting, we cannot respond and have a discussion. But we'll take your comments into consideration and we'll follow up as necessary. So
sweet.
thank you.
All right. My name's Kelsey. I live in Bingen at 211 East Franklin Street. I would like to talk about the bridge traffic that ensued on Wednesday last week after 84 East shut down. Took people multiple hours to get home. Traffic on Highway 14 was back to Bingen and up into White Salmon. I don't know how far. From what I heard, people in Hood River had a pretty hard time too, and they weren't even like crossing the bridge or getting on 84. I know a lot of people that walked home from our office back to White Salmon at Bingen, where it took them 45 minutes to get home rather than 3 hours. Yeah, so it's a problem for people who need to get somewhere at a normal pace, people going to the hospital or anyone with a life. And it seems like the blinking red light on Highway 14 doesn't do anything when traffic in like that happens. I would assume there's something on the Hood River side trying to control traffic in like a default state or something as well. And what I think would really help would be flaggers. One flagger on the Washington side, one flagger on the Oregon side, dumping traffic off the bridge and then letting some people get on, and then dumping traffic off the bridge. I don't know if you guys have the authority to use your port cops to do that, or if you'd have to partner with White Salmon and Hood River, or how that has to happen, but I feel like that should happen.
Thank you very much for taking your time. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm gonna go to a Bingen City Council meeting now and tell them the same thing. So you'll be hearing from Bingen or me and Bingen soon.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, Brian. Well, you got your written public comment, so you don't need to restate your address, but yes, go ahead.
And my public comments are virtually word for word just what you got for your written comments. So I'm going to just go ahead and that's the way I do it. I write it down and then talk about it. Dear Port of Hood River Commission, I'm speaking today about the proposed ordinance you have on this evening's agenda titled an ordinance amending Port Marina Basin Development Rules. Please note that I am a layman, not a lawyer. I'm not putting myself forward as one. The existing 1995 ordinance created by Citizen Initiative is titled Port Marina Park Ordinance for Port of Hood River. I'm pleased to note this ordinance is finally included in the port's listing of ordinances as it wasn't before, although the ordinance does not have a number assigned to it as I believe it should. Nowhere in last month's or today's meeting agendas has the 1995 ordinance been mentioned by its legal name. The proposed ordinance as written and presented tonight is fraught with mistakes, confusion, and is in direct opposition to the expressed will of your constituents. First, I wish to deal with the intent of the proposed ordinance. According to Director Greenwood's memo in your packet dated June 17th, 2025, the purpose of the ordinance being read tonight is to amend the 1995 Citizen Pass ordinance. Conversely, the ordinance presented today as a new ordinance with a new title and number, and not as amending of the 1995 existing ordinance. If the intent of the new ordinance is to amend the 1995 ordinance, I believe it should say so. I'm very confused about the procedure being used here. Nowhere in the proposed ordinance is there wording that says the ordinance being considered is amending the 1995 ordinance titled Port Marina Park Ordinance for Port of Hood River. In fact, the title of the proposed ordinance says it's amending Port Marina Basin Development. I've closely examined the port website and I cannot find anything that is labeled as or referred to as Port Marina Basin Development. Do these rules even exist? How can you amend something that does not exist? The title of this proposed new ordinance is therefore misleading by saying to amend something that simply does not exist. In 1995, Port Marina Park Ordinance for Port of Hood River was very specific in the law it created and absolutely does not need any clarification. Therefore, I am of the opinion that the intent of this ordinance is to override the will of the voters without expressly saying so. This is unacceptable, disingenuous, and very harmful to the port's desire for transparency. Furthermore, Section 10, repeal, in the new ordinance states, previously adopted policies that conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. With this wording, does the port intend the new ordinance to repeal the 1995 Port Marina Park Ordinance for Port of Hood River? The adopted 1995 Port Marina Park Ordinance is not a policy. It is a law, and therefore this clause does not affect the previous ordinance. I feel the passage of this ordinance as written is completely in opposition to the will of the constituents of the Port District by substantially altering the meaning and spirit of the existing marina ordinance. It will not amend the 1995 ordinance and will therefore directly conflict with the Port Marina Park Ordinance for Port of Hood River, which is in effect. Simply said, this commission needs to reject the ordinance being considered tonight, return to the drawing board, and work towards creating the viable Port Marina Park that your constituents have expressed a long desire for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. What's next? That's all. Oh, that's all. Thank you very much for your public comment, everyone. And with that, I will go ahead and recess the regular session, which does mean that we will excuse the public from the meeting under ordinance. Oh, wait, where's my chair?
He's got a question.
Ashley needs to, or
Oh, Ashley.
attorney.
Yes,
Sorry.
she gets to talk whenever she wants.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I appreciate that. I just wanted to add one clarifying comment, if I may, to the last public comment, if that would be helpful, and if you would permit it. The comments that I just heard were mostly about the procedure or the title of that ordinance. And I just wanted to clarify that, you know, as a procedural step, ordinances can't be amended in the way that you typically would think of for other legal documents. They must supersede one another. So anytime you're changing the text of an ordinance, you need to pass an entirely new ordinance. So although some of the text from the 1995 ordinance still remains in that draft, it does have to be an entirely new ordinance anytime you amend it legally. So just wanted to add that clarifying comment.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Then I will go ahead and if there's no further, I will recess this regular session and enter into an executive session in accordance with ORS 192.6602E real property transactions. For the general public, we imagine this will take about 10 to 15 minutes. And if you'd like to remain, you're more than welcome to do so, and we'll invite you back in as soon as we finish our discussion.
Okay.